Awesome. Okay. And so I will pull up your strengths just to share on the screen. I don't know if you have them in front of you, but I'll pull them up too. Um, so usually with these, I like to have you start with just, did you get a chance to read your 34 report, the colorful one?
I did. I did. I went through a lot of it, and I actually ended up putting some of my colleagues and friends in it too. So we ended up
Oh,
comparing and doing that whole, we did a little bit of a deep dive, but
cool.
I would love some clarity. And yeah, I'd love to just go through what you think. And
Yeah.
I will say that holy moly, it was right in line. I thought right out of the gate, I go, huh, I don't know. I don't. And then I read into each one and I go, oh, yes, this is it. This is so right on. And even like what to watch for, those two at the end, the
Yeah.
two comments always spot on, spot
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So yes, I did.
It's very cool. And yes, like you see the words and we have like, connotations with the words, but then once we kind of see how they're translated to our own experience, yeah, they definitely, that's why it's so important to read the report because it's so customized for you and it's really identifying like your number one focus, the paragraph in, the where is it? So the all of this purple, these purple boxes are customized, which you probably figured out if you were looking at your friends, but like if somebody else has number one focus, these boxes will read differently. So it's really cool. So I would love to hear, since you said it was spot on, like I would love to hear specifics of like what resonated with you. Was there anything that surprised you? Just overall impressions.
Absolutely. And I actually want to bring up, I was gonna bring it up on my laptop too, so I can make sure that I didn't interfere with yours. So I have it right here. So focus. So do you want to start from the top? We'll just go through focus and
Yeah,
do you want me to just hit
whatever works for you. You can bounce around, you can go in order, what just however you want to take it, I'll take it.
so I would say that uh, we are talking about direct to seller. We're talking about leader or maybe not leadership, but direct to seller, even if that's the avatar we're going to be focusing on too. But for myself speaking, I guess a background of myself really quickly. So if anyone who's listening wants to know this is, blue collar, spark plug, work hard till work will get you through anything is I was raised and led to believe, and still true to this day, but now we just work smarter. So I think one of the things that's for myself is bringing a different mindset, learning about mindset, learning about like how to do things properly and how to think, clearer and all the things that align with mindset and growth combined with the work ethic have been deadly, but now it's refining and things where Pace has made comments where he's like, hey, Santa doesn't build the toys. And if we use that quote, that was 1000% for me and to me. And until he said that to me one day, I was like, oh crap. I knew it, but you just didn't know. So if anyone, you can paint the picture where it's work, 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 do everything you can, build the houses, sell the houses, rehab the houses, rent the houses, all those things we did. I do. Now it's refining it into being a business owner a little bit clearer, cleaner and clearer. So as I mean, the blind spots I want to touch base on because those are the things I want to work on the faults more than anything. And I think working from the faults backwards sometimes will should make things clearer or help. In my personal opinion, I could be wrong. And Rosie, you might know that better than anybody is to watch out for the blind spots first. But I guess
Yeah.
for focus, so you focus so intently on your work and you don't notice when goals and priorities change. Remember to occasionally stop what you're doing so you can reevaluate your objectives. Case in point today, putting a flip on the market, 15-day flip, buy it, sell it, and I pretty much unplug everything other than my schedule. So I'm getting better at that. I'm learning to adapt. And those are one of the things I picked up myself until this test came through. I was, yeah, I would just put my head down and talk to you later.
Yeah. Get tunnel vision. Yes.
Yeah. And because the prize, the eye on the focus of the task was so important, but I know I was putting everything else off. And then just certain priorities would be able to, I guess, puncture that focus momentarily.
And now, are you saying now because you've grown some awareness of it, you are able to like be mindful of that and shift yourself out of it.
Yeah, and that's scheduling, and that's one of the things with coaching. So when Sub Two had brought me on as coach as to do some coaching, I said to myself, like, okay, you need to really focus on that schedule now. I was doing a schedule, but it was loose. I wasn't giving it at all, my all. But now it's, you can't mess that up. Like there, I like some accountability. When you're the only person, you're the only authority, and then you don't have really anyone watching you. You need to, now I do and did. And I would never want to disappoint Pace or that opportunity that I was giving, or some New Reach for that matter. So what it led me to be more disciplined in a schedule and in a calendar. So yeah, that was one of those things that I'm getting better. Now, I worked this morning, did some things, some projects, checked on those projects and make sure that I'm here and accountable for the calls. So I think that's a huge step. If no one, I don't expect anyone to know that because they're not seeing that day to day, but it's easy for that a visionary to get off the rails once in a while.
Yeah. Yes. And though you're able to focus, then yes, you're like, you can get hyper focused on one thing. And then you have your world is big, right? You don't have the luxury of staying focused and on one thing on a day-to-day basis. What's also cool about focus is it's not just in the day-to-day, it's also in like the big picture and the aggregate too. So like, what you're working toward, like when you have a clear goal, you are capable of staying the course and not falling in too much of the trap of shiny object syndrome, though it happens to everybody. People with high focus are able to regulate that better.
Yes, 1000%. And I think one of the other things it says, because of your strengths, you possess a tremendous capacity to work long hours. That's like, whew, resonated really hard. I can do, yeah. Your
Yeah.
mental and physical energy are seldom totally expended. However, the same cannot be said for everyone who attempts to match your pace. Holy moly, my wife goes, you sit here and try to bring everyone with you on these journeys, and they can't keep up. And then I get disappointed.
Mm.
And I'm like, what's going, why is everyone, where is everyone? Why isn't everyone here? And they're all like recouping and not able to. So that was one of the things that I would hear, but it's hard to relate. It's hard to relate sometimes when this is all you know. But
Yeah.
this is
And
helpful. This tool is helpful.
and that what you described too, I don't know if you're still reading from Focus, but like a big part of that is informed by your achiever being number 4. Achiever is huge stamina. Like they will see something through to the end. They will grind. They'll stay up late. They're always adding more to their list than they're crossing off. And with achiever, you work very fast and hard, and you do have a tendency, you either set the pace for a team, and also people with high achiever are frequently disappointed by the pace of others. Like that's just a common part of being an achiever. And so when you have achiever and focus together, like those two things is like, you go hard, you go fast, and you're also like laser focused on the goal. So you're not going to get distracted, which probably allows you to go even harder. Right. Um, so yeah, so like a lot of these there's a lot of interplay, right? It's not just like they're not all just in a vacuum. Um,
Yes.
so okay, so keep going. I want to hear more.
Well, so if we can move from focus, if you want, but I was going to say, how do we, and then I want to make sure that I think we're doing the job that I'm supposed to be doing too, is how does this relate to, you know, the job that we're doing? If you're listening to this and we're going to analyze it through direct to seller or leadership qualities, leadership qualities, we can touch base on that maybe later, but I would say for direct to seller, this is the visionary. This is the daunting task of doing whatever it takes to start and get either your first deals, your first leads, your first lists in real estate, guys. Or, if we are, whatever that system is, whatever we're going to go for, it's that typically that visionary needs to be able to set that direction or set that compass and do whatever it takes to swim. You're going to swim, you're going to take a boat, you're going to do the doggy paddle, whatever it takes to get out to that goal or whatever, wherever it is. So I am probably not doing the best job at clarifying as far as like the focus, in relation to like certain attributes. But I
So
mean,
I don't
yeah,
expect you to be able to do that. That would be a tall order, especially as somebody that's new to Clifton Strengths. Now, it will be helpful if, like, it's always helpful for me to generally hear what resonates. And then at least for these calls I've been doing, when you start kind of telling me, like, it's always helpful to have people kind of paint a picture of like what attracted them to the space, which you've somewhat articulated, but would want to hear more about like how you got started and why, and then a little bit about your journey that's gotten you to where you are today, understanding what skills you think have made you successful, and also what kinds of things have gotten in your way that you've had to overcome or are still trying to overcome. So those, like that kind of stuff, if you can, that's usually like the journey of these conversations. And then throughout that, we'll weave in strengths. And when you're talking, I can say, oh, yeah, you're doing that because that's your learner coming out. So I can help draw those connections for us just from hearing you as you go.
great. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I would say, the thrill, right? The thrill of, for me, it's the thrill of the catch. I love fishing. I don't eat what I don't think, well, maybe once. I've never eaten a fish that I've caught, right? For me, it was, oh, cool. That's the cool fish. Let's take a picture. Let's put it back. I
Yeah.
don't hunt. I don't kill and hunt things, so I can't speak for that. But that thrill of me, in speaking personally, and I think this is where I'm very passionate whatever I do, I'm very passionate what I do. And I don't just do things to do a million different things. So that's one aspect for me. But if we're going to fish, I am going to find the best lures. I'm going to find the best rods. I'm going to find the best tackle. I'll just use that as to summarize that. But then we're going to look at the maps. We're going to find out what maps are the best. We're going to find out who's been there before us. So that thrill where I get to like focus on all the components of it, and then I can formulate the plan, and then it's just get out of the way because we're going to go win the fishing derbies. We're going, and that is really what has happened. And I can use that reference that analogy because that's what I would do when I
Yeah.
would go fishing. So it's that thrill. And then I attribute it to same thing or correlate it to getting homes, buying homes, getting leads, getting sellers to agree to our prices. And then that whole thrill. And then it's on to the next. And then you rinse and repeat. And then you start to grow and learn and evolve in that business. But that's how I look at the direct to seller business. It's the thrill of the catch. Now for me, I'm going into another marketing strategy. Ooh, what can I do? And it's not even gimmicky. It's literally what I'm thinking about right now. And we're going into another marketing strategy. And we've never done it before. And it excites me. What if? Ooh, what is on the other end of that? Sort of like, I bet you there are people who attribute this feeling to folks who scratch lottery tickets or play or are gambling. I don't do either. But I bet you it is like that unknown. We make calculated risks as investors. And I know that I will win and I know I will get the prize eventually. How much work is the question mark sometimes to get there? Unlike the gambling where it's sometimes you're just frivolous in doing those things. So I hope that analogy maybe rings for some of the visionaries or some of the folks that are doing the direct to seller approach, because that's the thrill for me. It really is. And then I don't cut up the fish. I have a team now that is cutting up the fish. I used to cut up the fish, cook the fish, do all that. The team now does that. And then we prosper. And then we all eat together at the table. So I'm using a fishing analogy. I've kind of just really
I like
formulated
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's fair. If I definitely follow. And just again, like I said, I was kind of going to map to some of what I heard and what you said. So you are high competition. That definitely shows up, right? Like you want to be the best, you want to do the best, you want to have the best. Like competition is all about winning. And so that's your number 8. significance also shows up. So significance is your number 7. That is about, you want to make a big impact and you want that work to matter and be meaningful. And so like even what you just, I think part of your desire for the best is almost like a combination of your competition and also like wanting it to be big. And then kind of like your 9 self-assurance, part of, so self-assurance is like you have a groundedness almost in who you are. And so it allows you to like take some risks because it's almost like you always know you have yourself to fall back on. And so like all of those are all very powerful together. And it's, what's so interesting in your profile is you have 4 influencing themes, 3 executing themes, 2 strategic thinking themes, and 1 relationship building. But this box over here says you lead with strategic thinking, the green themes, and that you have more purple and orange than that, and your purple are higher. So what that means is that when you lead with strategic thinking, that means that when you are having a conversation, addressing a problem, just dealing with the circumstance in your day-to-day, your first thought is going to be to process. Like that's what strategic thinking goes. So like you're going to be like, okay, let me make sure, like, how does this fit into what I already understand? Or how do I relate this to what I already know? Is there anything else I need to understand about this before I go any further? And then you very quickly, like your oranges and purples are very quick to take action. So your activator, your achiever, your focus. But what's kind of unique about yours is even though you have all of these intense executing and influencing themes, you still lead with the like, does this make sense? What do I need to do with this? And then you move. So I'm curious if that resonates, because what you have is pretty unique to lead with something that you have the 3rd least of in your top 10.
And I want to thank you for touching base on dissecting it a little bit or making sense of it. And I was curious, like, ooh, what does this mean? Do we see this? What are the patterns? Like, I'm so curious on all that. But I, you know, one thing popped in my mind when you were speaking about, you know, you take it all, you maybe analyze it really quickly and then make the decision. If is that what you were essentially saying? Like,
yes, yep. That's like you think first before you move into action.
and I would say that I'm gonna go. I use my wife because she's my best friend, and she knows me. Well, she knows me better than I know myself most of the time. And she would say, like, I think you get to make decisions quickly. That's the thing. And she's told me this before, and maybe I analyze. I know I'm not a deep thinker. I'm a deep thinker on certain aspects, but when it comes to the real estate and the things that I know, they don't take me very long. But I guess I do think about them. And even going into our conversation, I was like, how much did I think about? I thought about it a lot. There's unknowns and the things of that nature. But yeah, I think I make really quick decisions, but yeah, there's a sense of quick calculations. And
Yeah.
maybe that's it.
I mean, because you have focus, activator, and achiever in your top 5, like activator moves so fast. And so, yes, like you can make kind of this quick, like, especially with your futuristic, like you might be like, what does this need to look like in the future? Or I even kind of saw you doing it like in this, like, where are we going with this? Right. Like asking yourself that. So like that will be like the strategic thinking part of it. And then you're like, okay, I know what we need to talk about, or I know what we need to do. So because you have so much of those fast-paced themes in your top 10, your thinking is clearly very quick. You're like, what are we doing? Where is this going? Okay, now let's go.
And sometimes and I'll shoot out I'll brain dump a lot. And that's a personal characteristic that obviously, and sometimes it's not great, right? And I know it's confusing. And one of the things, and I just want to mention before I forget, is thinking other people already know what I'm getting at, or what I'm stepping in, or what I'm smelling, or, like I'll explain something. I think I've done a bang up job. And then I'm like, great, good. I'm on to the next. See you later. And then they're like, wait, what? Or I'm, thinking people know the answers because they're not as quick. They're not as fast. They're not on the same wavelength. It's hard to talk about yourself and take a step back sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. It's fun, and it's also like, whew, a little meta.
Yeah,
But what you described actually is a common blind spot for people that are high futuristic too, because you just so naturally forecast like and have a vision for what the next day, week, month, year, 10 years, 20 years, like that's just the way that you think about people with high futuristic look at their lives. And people that aren't high futuristic don't look at it that way. And a lot of times you don't realize that when you're high futuristic. So if you're articulating something, you see it very clearly in your heads, and you probably don't realize that they don't, because this is just so like innate in how you operate. So sometimes that's where like connections, or excuse me, disconnects can happen in communication with people that are high futuristic. And what's even more interesting is when you have two high futuristic people together, a lot of times they'll have a vision and they think they have the same vision, but they haven't articulated it, and their visions are totally different. And there's a disconnect there too.
I've seen
um,
that. I've
yeah.
seen that.
Um, so, okay. So keep going then. I want to hear more about like what made you choose wholesaling direct to seller, and then would also love to understand like kind of your stepping stones and how you got to like building out a team.
Sure, sure. And I think one of the things I want to mention too is, yeah, the different strategies and the different marketing,
Mhm.
direct to seller. And we do everything. So, and the one thing is about me, someone about myself that we can probably fit in here as well. And I know that I know you'll do a bang up job for this. Is I don't most people there are folks in my life, or there are folks in the business who go focus on one thing and do it really well. Well, I'm like, well, I could do a lot of the things that I do really well, and I really do think I really do really well at them. I know I do. It's like I whatever, and we just focus on those few things. It's like I'm not someone who likes one thing. I don't like vanilla ice cream all the time. And I admire sometimes people who can do that. I just, I've tried, and I'm like, this is craziness. This is like, I don't know. I'd
Yeah.
rather go play in traffic. It's crazy. So, and it's a terrible analogy, but so for us, for direct to seller, it's, wholesale, but we're also doing all the creative finance. We're doing all the strategies. We buy, we hold. We have multiple partners. We have multiple operators for our short terms, midterms, long terms. So we actually, when I meet folks, they go, "Oh, so like, yeah, you wholesale?" It's like, "Oh no, but we do all the things." They're like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Oh yeah, we can do any strategy in house, and we do them. We own them. We buy them. We own them. We do all the things." So I think that's pretty unique as well,
Yeah.
as far as our real estate business. And it's a multi-tool is really how or a jackknife, or a Swiss Army knife, I think is what most folks would be able to um, envision.
Yeah.
But moving forward, uh, the way in the business now, it's like the fix and flips, as far like the fast pace of, I can't just sit there and do transactional. I can't just do, oh yeah, we locked up a deal. You're going to buy the deal. It's going to closing. Everyone's doing it remotely, and you're going to wire funds in my account. That is the most boring thing. You can make money that way. To me, I need tangible. I need to feel like I'm doing something. To me, that's, I don't know, smart, but it's lazy, in my opinion. Yeah. Does that make, I don't know if that made sense, but like almost like remote work, strictly remote work in an office, and you don't have to ever leave your office. That would be the pain. I did it for 1 year, and it was the worst year. And I said, I have to go back out into I have to go touch these homes, feel these homes, be with these homes. And I might not be swinging the hammer anymore, but I have to at least be there, touch them, see them, feel them, mix it up with guys, bring everyone's morale up. I think that's one of the might be activator.
Yeah, yes, a lot of like individualization too. Like activator gets going. Individualization is like you can see what's like unique and special about individual people. So that's the way you lift them up too. Um,
Yeah. And so I know I'm painting a picture of just like, but I wanted to paint the picture of where I don't want to go as a direct to seller, business. and how we operate. And because we operate that way, I don't think everyone else does, but that is the way we are operating because of I'm at the helm and I'm choosing to go into multiple streams. But at the same time, now it's allowing us to have multiple branches of our business. And now where we tie it all in is you can't, most of us come from ground up, you do everything. Everyone does every job. And then you have a partner and then you guys both do everything. And then you get another person, maybe you divide it up a little bit to the point where now we're putting like there's parts of the business that are completely hands off, essentially hands off, but right, like now we're able to multiply. And I think of it as an octopus. And this analogy, another one, the fishing and the octopus, I guess I like the ocean, but it's multiple like tentacles out. And that's where I've been able to really formulate. I go, oh, the proof is in the pudding. Oh, I can have 3 arms out there right now. Oh, I have a 4th arm. Now we just got a 5th arm. So now I have a fix and flip partner. Hands off. We have a direct to agents, real estate agents business. I said, come on in our business. You can use it as a home. I'll help you oversee it. Any problems, let me know. Now that business is going and they're building that out. And like, so now that I'm being able to, I'm growing as a leader and I'm growing as a direct to seller owner, but still I get the opportunity to have all the ice cream flavors, Ben and Jerry's and all the wonderful flavors.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense too. Like your achiever is they love to do everything. Like that those are the people that will constantly, if their list has 10 things on it, they'll scratch off 3 and they'll add 5, right? Like they're always, it's never enough. They need that like diversity and interaction and things. And you have a lot of orange influencing themes too. So people that have a lot of influencing themes in their top 10 do not like to sit behind a computer all day, right? Like they want to be out there with the people, like they get energy from that. It's not like a hard and fast rule that you're an extrovert if you have a lot of orange, but it does mean that you get energy from interacting with other people. And especially when it comes, like influencing is either uplifting people or the things people are working on or the things that you're working on. So it's influencing is really good at elevating things. And that's hard to do when you're sitting behind a computer. Not impossible, but just more challenging. And so tell me then, so you're direct to seller. So now I understand you have all of these tools and it sounds like basically, maybe tell me if I'm oversimplifying this, but the general business model is that you are working with sellers and then you're determining what the right avenue, if you use creative finance, if you wholesale, obviously fix and flip is its own strategy. But if you do creative finance and it turns into a rental versus if you do creative finance and you buy whole, like, is that sort of what it looks like, or am I oversimplifying?
No, I think you hit it. Really what we are is, yes, we go out fishing. We're going to fish and we're getting different types of fish, whether it's small multi-families or single families. But then when it comes down to what that asset actually can produce or how it actually, what's its best and highest use, that strategy that is the exit, we'll call it. So then it goes into long terms. We'll call it Airbnb. We'll call, whatever the strategy at fix and flip, all those things. Those are the things that we can execute. So yes, we can essentially do any of the strategies in-house.
Yeah. Okay.
So you hit it. I mean, the biggest thing is finding someone or finding that opportunity, that seller, we'll call it. And then from there, sometimes some folks go, oh no, this is a fix and flip. That's not me. Or this is creative finance. That's not me. Oh, I'm a cash only investor. I'm a cash only wholesaler. There's a lot of those. That's where we all came from. But the folks that are in the creative side, they came into creative, just so you know, maybe you do or do not know, but like they come into creative, being able to be a Swiss Army knife in someone's toolbox because they just were working with plain old screwdriver before and a hammer. And now you have all these other tools. So, and exit strategies. So that it's the ultimate place probably for someone as myself, like, because that's why when they come into sub 2, It's like drinking out of a water hose, fire
Fire.
hose, because there are so many things to do, and the folks who are not, and I would say like if you come in seasoned, you are ahead of the game because you actually probably know enough to go, I'll get a little ADD out there. I'll get a little, lost once in a while, but I at least know how to do some deals and I know how to do the thing. Some folks come in green as green. And that is where I would say I would most, they would really need to focus on. Those are the folks who we need to probably hold their hand a little bit more.
Mhm.
So I think well, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying like, I think this test would probably benefit them a lot, but I know that's not why we're here for that, but
Yeah, it's all connected. So
yeah,
this is all helpful data for me to figure out how all of this fits together. So
yeah,
yes, it's all helpful. Um, so then can you help me understand? Like you made some comment about July of 2022. Is that when you started, when you entered the like sub two community, or no? Because it seems like you've been doing this for a long time.
yeah. Yeah, no, Pace actually, I was just in my office and Pace, I was listening to some random Zoom and he was doing the Avatar series. I think it was brand new.
Oh
And
yeah, I listened
he
to
had
that.
brought it out in it's a funny story, but I was like, I came home from vacation with my family. It was like beautiful summer day in July. I had like my shirt off in my office, cameras off. Normally it's on, but I saved everyone. I spared everyone. And I'm just working, doing some things. I was actually sending an email to Pace for something, a deal. And he's like, Tuminowski, you're in here? I'm like, oh no. Was kind of listening, kind of not listening. It's just, I like being it's in the world, right? I'm in my realm. And I'm like, oh no, hat, shirt, put on
Yeah.
the camera. And he's like, and that's when he was like, hey, you're a leader. Let's have a conversation. And we just jived. There was no anticipation. I had zero, I just was myself. And actually, it's pretty cool. I didn't realize that it would resonate, but I think it was like the first episode towards the end, or the first recording he did for Avatar. And I've gotten so much of a positive response. It's benefited my life. It's benefited myself, like my emotional self. I don't know what the word is for that. Forgive me. But I selfishly, it filled my cup where people were getting value from what I said. I'm like, oh, I was just being me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people liked it and it resonates with some folks. So from time to, a couple times a week, I'll still get, hey, I just listened to the Avatar series and I really appreciate what you said. And I bet you it's a lot of the blue collar guys and a lot of the people with similar backgrounds. So yeah, and that was July of 22.
Got it.
So that
That
was
makes
the
sense.
first time. So now he's rekindling it, I think, and revamping, and he likes to do things 2.0,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes, as any master of their craft tends
Oh
to.
yeah.
Um, and what you described too, like some of the energy that you get from what you just described. So like your learner at number 6, learner likes to learn for the sake of learning. So you like to, so yes, people that are high learner might be multitasking when they have a podcast in the background, or what you just described. Like that's very common because learners just constantly taking in new information. Um, and then your individualization, I shared like that allows you, it's like an appreciation for individual people, what makes them unique or special. And so like getting to like share your learnings and then knowing that it's helping people on an individual basis, like those are some of the strengths that tie to what sounds like it's giving you energy. And even your belief, like at number 10, belief is very rooted in like values and purpose. And so when you feel like the things that you're sharing are aligned with the things that you value, that's also going to give you energy because that's in your top 10 too. Um, so
So, all right, as far as, and do you mind if I veer off for 1 second?
yeah, I was like, I feel like you got something to say. So yes, go for
It
it.
was the empathy which I hit. I go, if we saw my wife, we were almost joking about it, and I'm like, I was almost offended at myself, going, man, do you not have any empathy? And there are aspects of my life where people go, oh yeah, you are either in it or you don't really care at all.
Mhm.
Except it's my tribe. And that was over what we said. We go, oh no, the people in my life, you know, I just had I just had a small speaking engagement at a friend's mastermind. And as soon as my wife and kids come up and I have to read the lines or whatever I have to say, I'm like, immediately I'm like, "Ugh,"
Yeah,
choking up.
yeah.
And she's like, you do things like that. But she's like, man, everything else, if it's doesn't, I don't know if it's, is it selfishness? And I'm not trying to have a therapy session. But is it selfishness with just, if it doesn't serve my tribe and my mission, I don't care.
So no, I don't think that that's selfishness. It is very common to have empathy low. I coach with a lot of people, and it's not uncommon to have it at 34. It sounds like the way that it shows up for you is because your focus is number one. Then like that's the like your tribe. You stay focused on your people, and so you kind of wrap your arms around that. And if it falls outside of that, whether it's like you could go as extreme to say like you don't care at all, that's not what I'm hearing, but it's more you're not leading from a place of thinking what somebody else might be feeling. Even if you're aware of it, you're not leading from that place. And so, and even within your tribe, you're still not going to lead from that place. It doesn't mean you don't care about what they're feeling, doesn't mean you don't think about what they're feeling. But people that lead with empathy, that's their first thought is how does this person feel? How would I feel if I was in their shoes? And like really they're able to ground themselves in what another person might feel very naturally. They don't have to think about it. So having it at 34 combined with your focus, it means that either you you need to be intentional about the times, like even the situation you described, like tearing up when your family comes on stage, that is like an emotional reaction, but I wouldn't necessarily call that empathy because it's like your own emotions that you're feeling in that moment, right? Empathy is if somebody's telling you a problem or a situation that you're feeling and you can really understand what it might feel like to be in their shoes when they're experiencing it and all of the things around it. And so sometimes when empathy is low, how that can show up is like you might think you understand or you might think you know how they feel, but you can't do that as naturally as somebody who has it as their number one. So you might need them to articulate more or be more intentional about listening. So I hope that gives you some permission to know that you're not a bad person because empathy is a 34. It's just a thinking style.
You, yeah, you're right. And you are right. I know the word too. And I'm like, I used it, I used it as emotion, but
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. I guess that's something hard for me. That's hard because then there's something else where, and if you don't mind me hijacking this again,
No,
is
go.
I love giving, give. And I don't know, like there's certain parts, maybe I'm just a little bit like, there's certain parts of me that the phone rings. It's like, hey, do you have 10 minutes? It's like, no, but I don't know. I'll figure out how to get that 10 minutes somehow for you if you really need help. And that's just one example, right? And there's countless things. And I found myself, and I know where it comes from. I know where it comes from. But do you see that fitting in there, like in any of those top 10?
Yes, I do. So your head may or may not be going to, like when somebody needs help, you might not be necessarily empathizing with how they might feel, but that doesn't mean you're not able to see the problem and relate with the fact that they need help and want to help them. So it can be a lot of different things, like your belief, right? Again, like rooted in your values, helping others and giving might be a core belief of yours. So when you hear somebody needs help, you automatically go to, how can I help? Another, like there's all these different ways where it can show up, like significance likes to make big contributions. So if you can help elevate somebody else and use that skill set that you have with somebody else, like that's another way that you're going to help. Even like your activator, you can, every single strength can show up as like, how do I use it for myself and how do I use it with others? And so if somebody's like, I need help, you might use their activator to say, okay, what are you going to do to get started? Right? Like you might help activate them. You can use your focus even with them. Like you can stay focused on your core values. So it might be easy for you to pivot out of what you're doing, even if you don't think you have the time. And your achiever is never going to think you have enough time, because achievers just go, go, go. But you can pause because you're tying it to some of these, like your focus, your belief, your significance, etc. So I guess when I describe it that way, is that how you feel like it shows up?
Yeah, yes. And one thing you said early on that it came into me and I had to write it down, and I said, feeling, I want to help folks, anyone in coaching, anything. But when it gets down to the heaviness of it, that's probably where the empath is very low. And I want to run, or I don't really care the emotional side of it all the time, because it's draining to me. To me, I feel like, oh, it sucks my energy.
Yeah.
And so, but I want to tackle the problem, but I don't really care to hear about the it's so sad. It's sad a little bit, but it's like, I don't really care about the substance below it. Bring me in on how we solve this problem.
Yeah.
I don't care to handle all the the weight that's down there with it. That's not me. So that's sort of, I think, where you mentioned something. I was like, oh, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very normal, because it doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means like people with low empathy a lot of times are focused on like problem solving, right? Like that's typically what they're good at. And they don't need to connect with the emotional aspect to be able to solve the problem. Versus somebody that leads with empathy, they have to be able to connect to the emotional impact to solve the problem. So it's just different. And the other thing that I'll point out about your profile, so you have 2 relationship building themes in like 1 through 17, and then the rest of them are 19 through 34. So what that tells me, like that kind of jives with what you're describing, because high influencing, they're very relationship focused, oftentimes relationship focused, but it's like fast paced. Like you can make quick connections, you can move fast, you can push others, you can be fast to solve problems. And it's also very elevating, right? Like you can make things bigger, you can speak up on behalf of others. The relationship building themes don't move as fast because they typically build deeper relationships. And your number 12 is relator. Relator builds deep relationships. Individualization also builds deep relationships through like what I described, like by seeing what's unique about people. And that's clearly something that you use in your problem solving too. Like you can maybe see their problem or see what's going on for them specifically to help them address it. So it's not that you don't have any relationship building themes or that you don't use your other themes to build relationships, but some of what you described of like, I don't need to know all of the stuff to solve the problem. That's partially empathy and just partially the fact that you lead with, like, your most dominant themes are all other 3 colors, right? The purple, the orange, and the green. Strategic, influencing, executing. Those are your 3 most dominant. So of course you're going to start from that place.
Okay. And again, you hearing you, this is amazing because you're dissecting all the strengths and the weaknesses, and I'm sorry, all the 34 of the
Themes, they're called
themes. Thank you so much. So now relating it to direct to seller, one thing is the quickness and the fast, where I've seen in my team, and if anyone again who's going to go into a direct to seller avatar, some of it we don't touch every part of the business. Now it's the fishing, it's all that, but you might be fishing with your direct mail marketing, direct mail, and all the good things that come with that. But when the phone rings, sure, you can have the first conversation, but when it comes down to building and getting the pace, we'll call it finding the bunnies. Some of us, you can sit on the phone for 45 minutes to an hour, longer, of course. And they're dealing with the folks, and they're dealing with the really heavy emotional tolls, and they have to weed through it. Where my team now, they say, wow, Justin, if they ever caught me on the phone, no matter who it is, really, they're like, wow, you didn't really rush that person off the phone too much. And I was like, wow, I'm not ever trying to be rude, but sometimes I'm like, great, we established everything that I think we needed to talk about. Great. Thank you. Like, talk to you later. Where I have someone on my team who'll dig deeper. he won't let them off the phone. And it works. It's a direct to seller thing. He's closing sellers. So he's a closer if you're looking at that avatar ever. And those closers, that's in a direct to seller. You have to wear that hat in the beginning. But I don't know where that relates. That might be on the blues.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And that's not really me. And I guess that's where I'm seeing it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I had to wear that hat because I had to wear that hat. But now that I don't have to wear that hat so much, folks can start to break off and now we just have closures as an avatar anyway. But the direct to seller avatar, people will be needing to wear that hat at times.
Yeah. Yes. And that's like any set of strengths can play any role, but there's going to be aspects of roles and roles altogether so that are going to feel more energizing or less energizing based on what strengths you have to pull on to do that role. So yes, if forever you were going to have these deep conversations and listen to people's problems, like that would be temporary, right? You just couldn't do it because it would not energize you. But you could do it temporarily. You could pull on your others, you could pull on your other top 10 to help you get there. But that's even part of this exercise is like understanding what are some of the strengths that really make you shine in direct to seller, and how do we help identify those so that other people can see that they might be able to shine with similar strengths.
I have one for you. Perfect. Again, I love this. So blue collar folks, my team's like, Justin, lately there's been some in-person appointments that I've gone on, and my partner, actually, he's from North Carolina, came with me. Long story short, is like, holy moly, that was good. Like, you guys, I couldn't shut you two up because it was another blue collar individual where we were jiving, the chemistry was there, and we were matching. And subsequently there's one maybe tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday, and they're like, hey, you got to go with CJ. There's a blue collar guy. It's lights out for you. And I'm like, let's do it. So that's something I've learned recently too. I'm like, oh, I guess so. Like, we always would just act natural. And I never really stopped to think about it.
Yeah.
I can engage, and it's so much easier when it's that, but opposed to someone who is, that's maybe like an analytical, very hard to speak with, the closers are thinking about how to crack their code, how to relate. And that's what it is. Everyone's trying to emulate and relate and build rapport. And I'm like, no, like, that's not me.
Yeah. And that's also like, that's several of your strengths, but definitely your focus. Like, you do know what you do well, and you can stay focused on that too. And that's just another way that usually your number one shows up almost like everywhere. It just is very nuanced. It's like a thread that seems to like weave through everything. So even the fact that you can focus on engaging with like certain profiles of individuals and be successful, you can stay the course with that rather than saying, I need to be the jack of all trades.
And hence going into direct to seller now. So it's the folks who are going to listen to this or know this, if they ever listen to this, or if you're breaking down or Pace is going to break it down, they're going to, that's like perfect. Where if I wish I had known some of these things earlier, where I'd go, I can steer away.
Yeah.
Really focus on what you're good at. And that's what you're bringing to light.
Yeah. And regardless of whether your number one is focus or not, the goal of this assessment is to say, look at your top 10 and work from there, versus trying to like, don't look at empathy and say, oh, my empathy is 34. I need to get it higher. No, it's saying, okay, I know that this doesn't come naturally to me. So when I'm in situations where I need to be empathetic, how am I going to use my top 10 to help me in that situation? Or how am I going to use a partner who's really empathetic so I don't have to touch it, right? So it's build strategies for what's on the bottom, but leverage your top 10, and that's where you should focus all of your energy.
Awesome. Rosie, do you mind if I go personal again? I know we're here for the direct to seller avatar.
Yeah.
But I saw something about like mentoring, coaching, and talking about the things that really resonate with the individual.
Mm-hmm.
What I can look, but it'd be easier probably, at the back, like the back of your hand. That really touched, it hit home. And I'd love to hear about that. Like, because I'm looking at emphasizing that. I'm looking at all, of course, the top 10, but that really resonated because I'm really finding it that I'm really engaged in trying to be better at all those, like every aspect of the game, as some might say, but that really hit home. And I'm like, wow, because of recently I've been doing the coaching and doing certain things, and I'm really falling in love with it. And I never thought I would ever in a million years. But when it's on this topic and things that I really truly feel passionate about, I want to dump gasoline on it. So yeah, I'd love to hear just some of that, because that's what you are too. You're a coach, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'd
Yes.
love your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll tie in some of your strengths in that, which I think was part of your question. So so yes, it's not uncommon for people that are high individualization to want to be something related to mentoring or coaching. They like to, it's not necessarily about developing others, it's more just about an appreciation and an ability to see what's unique about people. And so when you are able to do that, I think from what I'm hearing from you, you're probably pulling in your learner, right? You have a lot of information that you want to share, and input is number 11. And so there's a good chance that that's like also dominant for you. Input and learner are very natural partners. And learner both like to take information. Input, learner both take in information. Input takes it in because they want to be able to share it. Learner takes it in because they love learning. And so because you kind of have both at 6 and 11, typically when you have that with individualization, you are wanting to share that with that person and probably tailor what you're sharing to their unique experience that you can see. I'm guessing there's something in your belief around like some values that you have around either helping others grow, developing others, or like there's the fact that you are energized by it is probably tied to some sort of like value or something that's core to the things that you believe in. And then the very last thing that I'll say is almost like a stretch assignment, I'll call it, is when you, because it sounds like what you're already probably pulling on those strengths naturally. A couple of the strengths you could pull on that can be very powerful with others is definitely significance and possibly some of the self-assurance too. So what I mean with significance, I mentioned with every theme, there's how you use it for yourself and how you use it with others. And significance like wants to make a big impact. They want to be recognized for that impact. And it's not about like getting a pat on the back, but it's like they want to know that what they're doing matters. And it's very powerful when you can learn how to use that with others to lift them up, to make them feel like what they're doing matters. And when you can share that with other people, that is very powerful in a mentorship. So you have that unique kind of combination that's a way that I would recommend stretching it for yourself within your mentoring, because that is a gift that you can share with them.
I'm finding that very, very naturally in this sub 2 mentorship. Like, yes, like because I think it comes with being a worker, being able to just, I'm into it. I'll do whatever it takes to just give and do. Oh, we need help. We got to do this. Just giving myself and I just want to share. And that's one of the things that I found myself. I'm like, man, is it not conceited, but it was the word like a narcissist. I go, man, I just always just want to share. And I always just think like, I don't know all the terms and psychology terms, and I'm not trying to make it a psychology conversation, but at the same time, like I was going like, you got to shut up sometimes, because I just want to like help and give and talk about the things that are fun. It's fun. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I do think that everything I just described, and even as you were talking just now, I still think your focus is in there too, because you are focused either on helping somebody or you know where they need to go, right? So it's like you're futuristic and your focus. Input loves to share. Like input is like, I have all this information and I'm going to put it out there for you. But your focus is like, I get the impression that you want to share when you are like focused on somebody, whether it's solving their problem or you've identified something that they might need. And so that allows you to focus. And then you're like, okay, and let me dump this all on because I know what you're working toward. So I know we're over time.
Sorry.
What's that?
So sorry too. I just looked at the time. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I love talking with you about this. And if you, I feel like there's like, we could probably talk for like 5 more hours and I wouldn't have all the information I need. But if you have any questions after this, please follow up with me. I may follow up with you with some additional questions just because I feel like what you do is so robust that probably couldn't all be covered in an hour. So I may reach out to you. If you don't have time, that's okay. But I would love to connect again if I feel like there's still some pieces I'm missing.
I think you know the answer to I would love to help. And I think that you know that I'm like, I will do whatever it takes. So however I can be a tool for this organization and to get the better, however I can help structure this, because again, put me to work.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to like, yeah, give back. And that's the other thing too. So like, absolutely, whatever you need, please don't hesitate because are going to learn this organization. You're going to learn all the avatars. There are going to certain things that come through and there's going to be a ton of things that I'm going to go, why didn't I say this? Why didn't I say this?
Yes.
We do so much. So please use me and I will help.
And same goes for you. If you have questions as you read your report, send them my way. I'm happy to answer that too.
Thank you so much. And then I guess moving forward, so I can promote, because I want my team to do this. Now should I lead them in a certain direction? What would you recommend if I was to have someone do that?
So I can send you some information as a follow-up on this. If you just want them to take the assessments, I can send you links so that they can do that. Some people like to do a team session where I put everybody into a grid and we talk about them. So that's a lot of fun. Some people like to do one-on-ones and then a team session. So like it goes very deep. It's really just what you think you'd find value in. So I can send you information on all of that. And also I have, I'll send you a link. I have a free Facebook group. So if you join that and like have your team members join that, it's just an easy place to get resources. I share different resources on different strengths, like, oh, here's a podcast on futuristic, or here's some strategies for how you can use Relator. So we do a lot of sharing of resources in that group. And that's just an easy place to get started because it's free content that'll just pop up in your feed.
Well, I'd love to promote you in my group too. So, absolutely. So you probably have another call, but I would love to take any information. I want to get the team involved. I told them all, and my wife wants to do it. Like we all want to get involved.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I'll get you that information today. I'll send you an email follow-up and then we can chat more from there.
Thank you so much. It was good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Have a nice weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.